Hello, the people of the internet. So, I wanted to just make a little explainer video to kind of consolidate everything I'm working on so that it kind of makes sense from a visual perspective. This is a sneak peek into something that I'm working on for the Ron Media Group app library. One of the things I was doing is I was kind of trading on this idea of potentially building, well, it's not the right tab, but so I was building like this application, which is like a visual representation of the tech time continuum graph. But I realized, okay, yeah, this app, it doesn't really provide any sort of value outside of you just, I guess, being able to play around with the weights and stuff. It's a cool, fun project. However, maybe less value than what's intended right now. So to kind of give like a full overview picture, so a couple of days ago, when was it? 17th, I don't know, a few days ago, I did the newsletter where I kind of just tried to consolidate what projects I'm working on, my vision into 2025, and my activity on LinkedIn and how it contributes to everything that I'm working on. Very noisy bike in the background. Um, yeah, this is all of the projects. So what's really happening is Ron Media Group is sort of this parent company, right? It sort of feeds all the traffic from LinkedIn or direct referrals towards all the other businesses. So the hypothesis is I could potentially spawn as many businesses as possible as there is traffic, right? So if we go to the analytics, for example, I just set it to 60 days because it's a good number, it's a good measure for social media, social media activity propagating down to the actual projects. If we do like, for example, like 12 months, you can kind of see like a much better view. Like this is when I started kind of ramping up my posts on LinkedIn, and then we got like a huge spike in active users, and then like some events count on the website and stuff. So it kind of validates the algorithm that I wrote, um, that kind of uses like audience capture as sort of like a parallel to farming and irrigation from the earlier post I did. It's on LinkedIn if you didn't see it. It's one of the analytics posts. I kind of do an explainer. Um, so that said, I kind of pivoted away from doing the graph, the 3D graph, and sort of like took one of the projects outside of the graveyard, right? Because one of the things that's been interesting going on LinkedIn is if I look at that page, organically it's been generating followers. And what's very interesting, it's people that kind of resonate with um, what this application is about. So in 2022, I launched this other idea, which was a platform for essentially QA testing applications and even real physical products that you want to send to your customers in the real world, right? So essentially, the thesis is leverage the power of having end users tell you how they use the features you plan to release. So it could be you're working on a mobile application or a website or a product, a new product. You essentially jump onto this site. There's a quick how it works. I'm still kind of working on the pricing offering. I'm not sure because there has to be some form of sharing between um, the QA tester, the freelance QA tester, and the person whose product is getting tested. So I'm busy doing some financial modeling research to figure out like what um, the pricing model looks like. But let's say you wanted to hire a tester. Um, so before we can even get to testers, the site is pretty built out. Like I've worked on this for quite a bit. It also is trading on the idea of using, of getting ad revenue, but very tailored ad revenue. For example, like this right here is ad space, so you could buy ad space on the web. It's kind of like billboards, I'm trading on the whole idea, like in the physical world, you still have like billboard media is still kind of a big thing. So the way this ties into this whole thing, like Ron Media Group is essentially like somewhat an advertising company that also does tech services and products that you would essentially use in the real world to achieve real world objectives. And so compared to the graph, I think this is kind of a good start to release the app. So as is right now, I have actually implemented auth, for example. I could log in here. I have a lot of Gmail accounts. So right now, yeah, so you kind of have like a back end where if you're a freelance QA tester, you can kind of jump on here. You would see all the jobs. You would see the assets once you've like met a job. Ads manager, so people who are posting ads onto the site. There's an account section where you can just do like regular account management stuff. And say now you kind of want to hire a tester. You kind of come over here, you go, hey, I want to Android tester, app and website testing. So the categories are kind of predetermined by me and the company for now. Like we trying to find categories in which there's going to be like a lot of traffic. And so say you want to get like 5 maximum quotations for your job, like location, Cape Town. So this is cool because I've actually implemented Google autocomplete, Cape Town, South Africa, and then so because I'm kind of starting with Android app and website testing, um, I thought like maybe one day could actually be very useful, 1 to 2 to 5 days, so you could like run it in your sprint, for example, and have the person involved in the testing throughout the sprint, and then there's like longer time frames. So these were based on other categories that are not mentioned here yet, where you would want to have like some form. But I'm trading on the idea that if it becomes like a monthly thing, then it's probably good to have it as a subscription, where you pay a subscription and you have access to the QA testing services throughout the entire month, just as a month-to-month thing, and then you can choose to cancel it. So, for example, since this is website, to make it realistic, I'm just going to choose one day. Remote for now, because obviously if you look at some of the analytics on here, just go back once, go back twice. Like you'll see that a lot of users are from the India area, but could be like a good cross-pollination between the South African market and people in India that can give you insights, because those guys have been building apps for quite a while. So if we're saying that South Africa could benefit from this sort of like global cross-pollination, or not South Africa, but Africa in general, if you're building an app over here, you could quickly get insights about how people are building apps in India, or because people in India are building applications for the US market, for example. So that would be like such a good way to get like insights by builders who are building for other regions, even though you're building here in Africa. So you can see how this app already kind of provides you with value. I'm not gonna do the company login access thing for now. Just say Ronald FEMA AI, and then I'm just gonna do like a dumb description. So what I'm busy working on also is a testing specification template, where if you want an app tested, you can actually just borrow from the app testing template. Oh, another thing is I've been doing research on local level AI large language. So you can essentially now do large language models within the application. So for example, you could actually describe your problem here, and then AI within the application would like almost in real time just generate for you what the testing specification would look like. So complete gives you kind of like, also there's also ad space here. So the cool thing with this ad space is once I start learning about user behavior, what you essentially have is I will show relevant ads to the relevant users based off of like who's viewing the ad. So it'll be super relevant to the person viewing it. So that means your impressions will be like, your chances of creating a conversion are way higher than what it'll be like. So kind of this is a quick look into some of the things I still have to implement, like the one-click apply. So you should be able to just like click, and then so my kind of application architecture philosophy is like removing points of friction as much as possible. So this is why I'm kind of going with this one-click apply idea. And then after that, so this is step 3 is essentially the payment step. Um, you are done, and then place your order, and then you essentially like it. So I'm using Paystack. So Paystack is also very cool. It's another um, Africa-based company that's also providing payments in Africa. So it's very easy for you to start a so you can even like make multiple businesses on Paystack. So this is freelance QA. Um, so one of the things I've been doing is doing some test transactions. So I created an order page, a payment page, where I can add products, and essentially like if I visit it, you as the payer, so you kind of go over here, place your order, and then it takes you to this payment link where you fill in your details, episode started testing, and then the payments get made, and then you can even write webhooks on top of this platform, which is cool because then my backend, my small little backend for this, this is based on Cloud Functions for now. So I'm gonna write a Cloud function that sort of like receives the webhook, updates the payment, and then the job gets deployed to the freelancers who would have signed up. And as a freelancer, you get a notification via email. You come back here. There's a job for you to do, and once you do it, you get paid. The person is happy, and then you actually increase your reputation across the site. So after that, I'm gonna work like, so the plan is to release this application with just the app and website testing functionality, and then I'll make incremental updates. And so that's kind of like the whole ethos of what's happening with all my projects is, so the version number, for example, on the website is kind of an indicator to like, yo, this is still in development and I'm building it. So for example, right now, if you go to the auth on the media group site, like there's nothing for now because obviously it's not even version 1 yet. So there's also this philosophy I learned about like the permanent beta, where you kind of, it says software is never finished essentially, right? It's an iterative process, and so for that reason, how you build good software is you release the value that matters first. Like for example, if you jump onto this site, you can immediately start seeing stories like the features that are here work to completion. You can play all the podcasts. You can watch the YouTube featured videos. However, incrementally, once we get to a point whereby, for example, once the library is launched, and for example, I do the small little like applications because I think there's still a space for some of these like small little Easter egg applications. They just live on the site, and then also there's also like if you are like a real life person who wants to do business in the real world, you could also find applications where you could just jump on and actually get like real value and you can make money off of it. Yeah, and then there's also FEMA AI, which is, so this is a much longer project. It's like this is not gonna get released immediately. So as you can see, like there's a lot of like validation still happening. So we did a product hunt launch where we tried to get some insights into like, which is pretty good. We got like number 15 on the day, which is pretty. This site has people launching from all over the world, so the competition is pretty steep. That to get number 15 is pretty impressive for like what we had in the application. So after this launch, the application has kind of gone back into closed beta, because building a platform that is essentially making the bet of being involved in changing how work fundamentally happens, sort of like there's a lot of change management that needs to happen in between, sort of like idea infusion into the whole like ecosystem of work and adoption. So this project is, it's kind of a project that you want to have like, you release it to like very high level stakeholders that are able to see the value of this technology in its infancy, and sort of like propagate it down into this. It's kind of like how, for example, like Amazon just had an announcement that they're implementing back to office in 2025. So they're sort of like a change maker in the whole tech space. So what you're going to see in the news is a lot of companies are going to start implementing the same thing because those guys have like just a larger surface area in terms of like testing out some of the ideas. So similarly, if you take a similar approach, you want to be able to like do a lot of research around this application, for example, before it can truly have like mass adoption. So I'm kind of building this slowly and really trying to understand. But it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. You can sign up for the closed beta, which is a type form that takes you to just having your email listed as one of the first people to receive a notification once this is ready. But it's pretty amazing. I think it's revolutionary technology. Um, but yeah, this is what it is. So a sneak peek into what I'm going to be deploying in a few days. Um, yeah, a lot of work going on in the background, but if you want to follow the story, you can go listen to the most recent podcast, No Senior Babies. It's pretty interesting. It's much longer also compared to the first one. It's like 57 minutes. So yeah, stay tuned.